Gentlemen, I'll call the meeting to order and welcome everyone. I'll do number one is introduction. In the event of an emergency, the building may be evacuated. You'll be required to vacate the building by the rear entrance and gather at the breezeway between the library and the art gallery buildings. This is Council's designated emergency muster point. Under no circumstances is anyone permitted to re-enter the building until the all clear has been given and the area deemed safe by authorised personnel. In the event of an evacuation, a member of council staff will assist any member of the public with a disability to vacate the building. 1.1 is apologies for absences, which has none. We don't have to worry about Zoom. I'll move on to 1.2, which is live streaming and recording. This council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at the council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at this council meeting, that you ensure you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Orange City Council accepts no liability for defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. A recording of this council meeting will be made for administrative purposes. Acknowledgement of country 1.3. I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders both past, present of the Wiradjuri nation and extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians who are present. Item 1.4, which is declarations of interest. Any councillors got any declarations? None of those. Being no speakers, I'll move on to, there's no mayoral minutes. Number 3, which is confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting, 3.1. I moved by Councillor Peterson, seconded by Councillor Floyd. Any speakers? Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a quick comment about, I raised at the last meeting about the length of the grass running around. I mean, you look at, we've had a good week or so fine weather and there's a lot of parks and gardens that are up very high, and that's been the case when we had in previous years. I'm not going to put any blame on staff. What I'm going to say is look at how about we bring back a report to council about the contract that we have with the contractors, because I think that may be where the issue is, because some years, I mean, I know at home I've only mowed once for the year, but this year I've already mowed 4 or 5 times. But that's it. And the other question I've got for is that, just while we're in the minutes, is I've been contacted by a lot of RFS people about the site out at the old running site where the thing is, and I would like to think that we bring that to council very quickly to get it to move on with it.
Through you, Mr Chair, yes, that is it. On the first one, yes, we can bring that report back, and secondly, yes, the intent is to get it to you sooner rather than later. I think we're targeting November, 2nd November meeting for that RFS report.
I was going to say something about the snakes, but I had a snake the other day and he was still alive, so I left the buyer's phone number with him and see if he...
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Any other speakers? Being no other speakers, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. No notices of motion or rescission motions. I'll move on to 5.1, which is recommendations and resolutions from Policy Committee.
Recommendations.
Thanks, Councillor Whitten. Seconder? It's Councillor Greenhalgh. Any speakers? There being no speakers, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Point 2, which is statement of investments on page 33. Moved by Councillor Duffy. Seconded by Councillor Floyd. Any speakers? Councillor Kinghorn.
I have a couple of questions about these. Page 34, we've got the table about externally restricted funds, internally restricted funds. I was wondering if it would be possible to get a list of what those funds are restricted for, especially the internally restricted ones. It's about $30 million, and I'm just curious about what the allocation is, if that's just
absolutely,
like to
Ms Mayor, we'll
understand.
circulate that.
The other question is relating to page 37. $38 million worth of investments in BBB investments, and I know that people do that because there's often a higher return for the BBB than there is for the AAA, but when I look at that, unless it's a typo, then the return on that is 1.42%, while the AAA is 4.5%. We only have less than $1 million invested, and I'm just wondering what we're doing about that.
Through Mr Chair, if I could take that on notice, I would prefer, and get an answer back to the councillor, to all of council.
Any other speakers? There being no other speakers, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. 5.3, which is preliminary investigation into the provision of public Wi-Fi in the CBD of Orange. Moved by Councillor Peterson. I'll second it. Any speakers? Councillor Peterson.
I need to thank staff for preparing the report, and to say it's I guess a great thing that the Youth Action Committee that Councillor Floyd was able to arrange to speak to us, suggested an idea, thought it of value. We've been able to take that to potentially something that is actually practical and happens on the ground.
Any other speakers? There being no other speakers, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. 5.4, which is Lord's Place Concept Plan.
Mr Mayor, and add an additional dot point if I can. Council be provided with a report on the use of the dining decks every 6 months throughout the trial period.
Second that.
Um,
What was that again, sorry?
I didn't speak into the mic, my bad. The council be provided with a report on the use of the dining decks every 6 months throughout the trial period.
Yes, sure.
I'm very supportive of most of the objectives within this plan. I'm looking forward to a bit of street beautification, and the pedestrian walkability I think will be great. The main concern I think we're going to spend a bit of time on tonight is probably parking. If you throw your mind back to the 1980s, I wasn't around then, but out the front of our business down in Peasley Street, we actually had rear to curb reverse in parking. Now, somewhere after that, we've changed that to parallel parking as Peasley Street's become dual lane. I imagine Jack and Ted were probably not very stoked about that at the time, but nevertheless, 40 years on, we're still here and doing okay. But parking is still an issue, and if a big long flatbed truck pulls out the front of the shop for an hour, I've lost 3 car spots, but somehow the customers still find a way into the store, and I think it shows the adaptive nature of the consumer and our residents. So I certainly feel for businesses in Lord's Place, and to have a change to the place you've been doing business in for decades like this is certainly concerning, but I'm comfortable with, at the first meeting, we've asked for this traffic report and the parking report to come forward, and I'm comfortable with what's been suggested in that to negate the effects of what we're going to do. The younger people I speak to, very much in support of this sort of proposal. They're happy to walk that extra couple of minutes and park the car a bit further. I understand it's going to be different for the older demographics. I certainly understand that, but these are the people I speak to. But the people I speak to that are neither here nor there for the proposal, and the reason I've put this extra dot point in is they'll look at the dining decks and say there's a few of them, they take up a few spots, they're not used, and we can say, well, as part of the plan, it is reversible. So I've spoken to staff about this a fair bit, and they're willing to move around if something isn't being moved. So measure and make sure we're keeping on top of this. We're listening to businesses, and I have faith that the staff are willing to do that. I think everybody involved is going to be a lot more comfortable with what we're intending to do. But I'll leave it there.
Other speak, Councillor Miletto.
Yeah, I'd be looking for an amendment to the motion, if possible, Mr. Mayor. That amendment B, what I'm concerned about is that, although I agree with reducing the time limits in Lord's Place to 30 minutes and 15 minutes, what I think needs to be made clear is that after 6 o'clock, that the parking reverts back to no limit, so people who want to go out for dinner and the like are clearly aware, especially when we have visitors to Orange, that the signage stipulates that there are no restrictions after 6 p.m. and people can park there as long as they like, because I can see that people who want to go out for dinner and etc. May be confused if the signing isn't clear. The second point that concerns me, and which I'd like to include as a point 6, so there'd be two additions. 5 is that there is
Proper signage.
proper signage which indicates that there is no restrictions after 6 p.m. The 6 would be that my concern is that by reducing the parking in Lord's Place, the time limits, that when the OFA car park gets full and the other one behind McNamara Lane, when they get full, people who have to attend appointments, 1 hour isn't enough in McNamara Lane, areas like that. So I'd be looking at investigating or implementing a situation where have consistent 2-hour parking outside Lord's Place, McNamara Lane, and the like. As my understanding is especially McNamara Lane, out the front of the Hive, places like that, it is 1 hour parking, and people who go there to do regular business, if they've got to get caught up in the Hive for more than an hour, and the car parking is full at the OFA and behind there, they have difficulty remaining or finding parking for 2 hours. So obviously that area is policed quite regularly, which it should be, but it's quite often to get caught up in appointment for more than an hour, and that time frame doesn't allow. So I'd be looking at consistent.
An investigation or?
Yeah.
Are you happy to add that to your motion
Out the motions again, please.
or the amendment?
The amendment that
The amendments.
I'll take that one. So if I may, through you, Mr. Chair, Councillor. So far, that council be provided. No, sorry. First addition would be that all parking in Lord's Place be sign marked that after 6 p.m. it reverts to unlimited parking until 8 in the morning or whenever it starts normally. Yep. And this second point would be that a report come back to council on the possibility of consistent 2-hour parking in McNamara Lane and the rounds.
Yeah, for a trial period of 6 months.
So the procedure there, through you, Mr. Chair, we do that report to the Traffic Committee in due course.
Are you happy to add that to your motion?
I think so. I think that'll be.
Seconder is happy with that?
Councillor Greenhouse is the seconder.
Councillor
So there is now a 6-part motion, or 7-part motion, sorry, Mr. Chair, including the dining deck 6-month review.
Councillor Whitten?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, it's just I'll have it stand up.
No, that's okay. You were
On the
stretching your
weekend,
legs, I'm
so
sure.
Look, I'm speaking against the motion at the moment, and one question first before I speak, Mr. Mayor, through you. The pods that are going to be in the street. I read in the report that we're going to 18 months' time. That piece, but my understanding is that the pods can be moved. Are they modular, right? Replace the parking.
I'll speak for Mr. Greenham with no microphone there. Yes, that's correct. We can get a forklift in there and just move them away.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.
So the reason that the parking changed in Peasley Street in the 1980s, because I was around then, was that there were traffic lights put in. There were no traffic lights there. When they put the traffic lights in, they had to revert to parallel parking. Right? The concern I've got, and we know the elephant in the room, the concept is fine. And the staff need to be congratulated on the power of work that they've done. This is now a decision for us as councillors. The staff have done their job, they've provided the information to us, and then we now make a decision on behalf of the community of Orange. As a businessman for 40 years and owning retail businesses, you survive on foot traffic and passing traffic, right? That is your bread and butter. And we've recently been through COVID, which has impacted all of the retail area. And now we're going through a pre-recession and maybe moving into a recession. So passing traffic and revenue and to small business is their lifeblood, right? My biggest fear is that, sure, we're going to make this a beautification program, which will bring tourists to that area. But if we get it wrong, and in 18 months' time we admit we've got it wrong, what happens to those businesses who lost revenue and are probably now gone? How does that help them, right? So, and it's all around the fact that we're going to take away 23 car spaces. It might not sound a lot, but as someone who's lived here all my life, like many people in this chamber, many debates have been in this chamber for Orange were to do with the lack of parking in Summer Street, or the CBD to be more precise, right? And one of the strategies was, and it was right up until last councils, that council are very reluctant satellite shopping areas because they do not want to impact the CBD. The whole idea of not having satellite shopping, keep the CBD as it was and not impact it. Because we don't want to end up like what happened in Dubbo. Sure, it's sorted itself out over years, but really the main street was dead for 10 years because they built satellite shopping. The argument about North Orange. North Orange has worked out well. It impacted Orange. But it has always been the strategy. Me personally, satellite shopping works, right, for smaller type arrangements. But here we are now. We're talking about reducing the parking. Now, if we had a strategy or we already had something in place that was going to fix the parking issue, like a three-storey parking area, then it would not be a problem. We don't have that. And telling people to walk 10 minutes, that's easy. But we have 6 months of winter. Having people walk, and if you talk to people about, like, one of the great things, it's great to do surveys, and I've been speaking to the businesses, and they're all but one wants it in that street. At the end of the day, it's their businesses in that street. We're here to listen to the community, right? And it's their businesses in that street, right? We're going to impact them. We are definitely going to impact them with this. Now, might be good impact, bad impact. But we're definitely going to have some impact on the survivability of all of those businesses in the street. So, like I say, great concept, great work by the staff, but the elephant in the room, because we're talking about it now, right? We're discussing how long we're going to have parking. We're going to have short parking. We're going to have unlimited parking when it gets to the evening. And it is definitely going to impact those businesses. So I'd have to say that I don't support it for that reason. The concept I like, but for the fact that we're taking away 23 car spaces, very bad, I feel. And I could be wrong, but in 18 months' time, if I'm right, there are going to be a lot of business who have suffered, probably aren't there anymore. And that weighs heavily on me as a councillor. Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
The
Mayor.
clarification, if I can, to you, Mr. CEO, are you able to provide the council with verbal update to the current situation with the AFA car park? I thought I read an email during the week where it was sent out for expression of interest or something like that.
Oh, Councillor, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, a press release went out. I think I circulated that the other day. A press release went out some 2 or 3 weeks ago, which indicated that council would be going to the market with AFA car park. That is true, and within 2 or 3 weeks, I hope to go to the market and start the process of development of that car park.
And what does that look like for?
That looks like that is saying to the market, council is willing to offer this car park, and in return for extra parking, a developer can take it off our hands or take a long-term lease, and we would seek to keep the existing at-grade car park, add another level, and then they would have 2 or 3 levels potentially to do retail, residential, whatever the LEP permits. So I'm hoping the market, and we've got indications that there are people who are interested. through our work on 103 Prince Street when we tapped the market on interest there. So I'd be pretty hopeful that'll be start of a successful process.
Just a question of clarification. Now I'm starting to sound like Councillor Duffy. It's a question, Mr.
Mean-
Clarification. Great concept. When did we approve that as a council?
No, that's coming to you.
Oh.
A report is coming to the next meeting. No, Mr. Chair, sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah.
Oh, you carry on. Oh, sorry. No.
Through Mr. Chair, yeah. I'm writing a report to go to the next council meeting asking your permission to go to the market.
Okay.
I can't do any land sales, as you know, without your permission.
Yep.
And
So
I will
it's just,
also...
blue sky stuff at the moment.
No. As soon as you let me do that, we will go to the market.
Councillor McDonald.
Mr Mayor, I've got a couple of questions first, through you for the director, if possible. The traffic report that we asked for, they did it when they did their presentation. They mentioned that we could increase parking in Lord's Place south of Kite Street by line marking. Is this something that's being done as part of this, or would that be an additional thing, or is that not included in this at all?
You'll see in part 3, 2 of the recommendation is to adopt and implement the recommendations of the GHD parking study.
And that includes specifically line marking.
It includes
that
specifically line marking in that study. There are some concepts that they came up with that may not be quite as practical to implement, but certainly as a first stage step, the 2-hour parking in the OFA car park fronting Kite and Lord would be implemented as a first stage of that approach.
And I suppose this is possibly a little bit hypothetical too, but should this go ahead and should the trial actually prove to be successful, would we then be looking at upgrading that roundabout on Kite and Lords so that it's a safer roundabout to cross, particularly from the OFA car park?
This concept includes changes to the roundabout on OFA and Lords to make it a safer crossing.
Okay, thank you. So I'm obviously, as a seconder, I'm speaking in favour. There's a lot of evidence nowadays saying that if you increase foot traffic, increase people coming into your businesses, and the whole idea, from my understanding, is that this is to make it not just aesthetically more pleasing for everybody, but it's supposed to be more pedestrian friendly. And with that comes things like the advanced trees, which are going to make it nicer to walk through so that it's, okay, yes, it's winter, but it's not necessarily going to be as horrible. It's the same sort of concept as slowing the speed down in Summer Street. You slow the speed down, more people see your business, more people are actually going to know you're there and hopefully visit. So look, I'm happy with this. It's a trial for 18 months. I think it's a great thing to start, and I understand, of course, the concerns, but there's definitely, we need to try this. We've got the grant. We've put in contingencies, and I think we just need to give it a crack.
Councillor Greenhalgh.
Yeah, I'm happy to support the motion. I think that the directors have come back and covered a lot of the queries that we had in terms of parking and so forth. I also think, our community has voted us in for a reason, and it's that old saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So I think, we need to try different things. What's the worst thing that can happen is, we've got to remove the pods. And I think we have to be flexible with those pods anyway, because chances are that the businesses, the restaurants could change from time to time. So they're going to be moved around to different areas of that street. So I know personally not one business has contacted me with an objection to this. There's no one here to address this in the open forum. So I think it speaks for itself. I think, we need to give it a try. So I'm happy to support the trial and, see where we go. I think the plans for the car park, I mean, for me, that too initially was my biggest concern, was the car parking. But with the line marking and the changes and stuff, I think we've pretty well much addressed most of those sort of things. So I'm happy to support the motion.
Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to speak for the concept plan and the design. I've become a bit of a serial fest and also a loiterer around that area for a few days, and literally walking through the post office lane and driving continuously through underneath the Big W, and literally hopping out, putting my music on and walking back out through the laneway, round and back through Kite Street, and then back inside. And it's not that far to access that one block, even if it wasn't right through to Summer Street to Kite Street, within 3 minutes, one song. What I'm saying is that I think, and I do take Councillor Whitten's comments on it, and I take this decision serious, that I don't want to impact, businesses and stuff like that. But when I look at the aspects of one of the comments on the report, and I appreciate the commentary and the work that the staff have done to provide us with layers and layers of information, one of the paragraphs that actually mentioned that maybe gone are the days that we can just park outside a facility or a shop. And going on Councillor Evans back in the 80s, I remember all of that sort of stuff going back and forwards, and having definitely no
1800s
no
or
lights.
the 20th century or the 90s?
I've been here since the 70s, so there we go. 61 model. And seeing the changes, but when I looked at the prospect of, okay, the impact on those stores, but those shops and outlets, when I looked at 3 minutes at the worst, and I'm not a fast walker, I'm too old these days to go fast, just to walk around that area there, and I'm right there in front. I'm literally right there in front. So I support the concept of that and the 18 months trial in relation to it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Other speakers? Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you. I think there's a lot to like about this. I do like the idea of people getting outside and moving around, and COVID's taught us anything, it's that being outside is a good thing. But we do need to have the right balance between this and the in relation to parking. Most of the business people were okay with the concept if the parking situation was dealt with appropriately. I don't know that it has been. I know we've had the information from GHD, but I spent a few hours on Sunday reading the Australian standards on parking facilities, the Part 5 on on-street parking, and I think there are a few things that haven't been done in the GHD report. So it says in business areas, parking associated with the conduct of business usually takes priority. 5.4, time limits. The limit should be determined only from a proper study of parking patterns. The width of the street south of Lord's Place, they're proposing possible 90-degree middle of the street parking. The minimum width for that needs to be 23 metres, and a quick look at Google Earth looks to me like it's 22 metres. And the introduction of line marking to increase efficiencies by 20%. Short-term parking spaces, angled ones, are actually 20 centimetres wider than longer-term parking spaces. This is all from the Australian standard. So there's no evidence that that actually helps. I think that if we were doing a proper parking study, then all of those things should have been addressed, and they haven't been. And so, while I think that it might be lovely sitting outside Crema basking in the glow of a golden sphere, I am fiercely possessive of my parking at my pharmacy because it does make a difference to my business. I think a lot of damage can be done in 18 months if the parking doesn't work out. I think it's irritating the way everyone says, oh, it's only temporary, it's a grant and whatever. It's still taxpayers' money and we are accountable for that. And I would be a hypocrite if I supported it just on the basis of parking. So I can't support it. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Councillor Kinghorn. Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to support the motion, and I think I'm comfortable with Councillor Miletto's amendment as well, although I might say a little bit about that. I did, in looking at this, go back and look at the future city design and planning framework that originally was adopted by council back in 2020, and this vision for the street is really consistent with what was in that document, and really encourage people, if they haven't already looked at it, to see, this is a decade or more of work that we're embarked on and we're still doing. And that document was clear that parts of it involve experimenting and trying some things out and see what works. But it was also clear that the evidence is that if you make a city more vibrant, more accessible, and more friendly to both pedestrians and cyclists to get into, then you are building it for the future, and you're making it so that it's going to be capable of dealing with the way things are going to evolve. And that's what, for me, it's really important that this is about. It's not just a beautification project, and it can't be. Like, we can't just think parking's going to stay the way it is. We have to actually be changing things. And in fact, we have to be changing expectations about the way urban design works and about the way people live in their cities. And I mean, the fundamental thing I come to, we've already had people talking about what the changes have already been. The reality is, if you're thinking we need to save car parking spaces because we need them there for people to be able to park outside the shop, we know the population of the city is expected to grow, 30 or 40% in the next couple of decades. Are we going to magically grow more parking spaces on the street so that people can keep parking outside the shops the same way? Things are going to have to evolve. So that's what I really get coming out of the feedback. Like, I can see people are seeing change, and I can understand you can see the problems with the change, and change causes concern, but the change is also going to be inevitable. And yes, taking Councillor Whitten's points, we may not get some of it right, but overall, I think this vision for what to do with that street is a good next step in the future city project. I did want to comment on a couple of specific things. One is that the pods are particularly being talked about as dining pods, and about whether businesses want to make use of them or not. But if you look at the concept planning and the idea of things, having outdoor furniture there creates spaces that people can make use of and engage, in like, I could see, even if businesses aren't using them, people taking their lunch break might still pick something up and go and sit down there. So, and the other thing I find connected to that, like, we talk about Orange like it's the Arctic tundra, and it's completely uninhabitable for most of the year. I walk into town regularly, I grab food, I go and sit somewhere. And I think tourists come to Orange partly because they like the change of climate and they like that weather. So I think there's opportunities there, both for general promotion, but also for the businesses, if they want to tackle it, to really look at offering that experience of outdoor dining in Orange. Yes, there are going to be days and maybe some weeks where it's not going to be ideal, but you can do things, and there is alfresco dining in Europe, in New England, in America, in lots of places that get at least as cold as us, that get a hell of a lot more snow than us, and it's still perfectly viable to make those things work. Probably the other thing I wanted to comment on, like, I've looked at it as I said, went back to the original Future City concept and looking at what, as I said, a lot of it is in line, but what's missing from it, and the things that I think we've sort of not delivered as much of at this point. We're talking a lot about it being pedestrian friendly, and I think it really is, and I think the changes we've made already are great in that regard. As I said, I regularly walk into town coming over the railway line and get to benefit from the way we've made it a more walkable area. I think the original focus was also on active transport involving cycling in and around town as well, and I know we put bike racks in place, but I don't think we've done anything much to make the streets more safe and more inviting for people to actually attempt to ride bikes in town. And we know both the design of the streets, but also attitudes play an important role as well in making it that the people don't necessarily feel comfortable riding a bike in, which is again taking cars off the street, taking pressure off car parking, doing a whole lot of things that that help address some of the things that people are concerned about. So I think that's one of the things. And the other thing I noted was that it does talk about rationalising car parking, and that was left in the original planning to a later tranche, and basically saying that'll give us an idea of demand. It's pretty clear, and I think we as a council are this is the bit that we're probably all in agreement on, is that there's definitely a need for some of that consolidated car parking. And so obviously the OFA car park EOI process will be really important. And maybe that was part of the way we rolled this out on the previous council, that if we could do it again, we might have looked to move on that quicker. But I think that'll be really important. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Mallard. Any other speakers? Councillor Duffy.
Mr Mayor, thank you very much. Well, this is the biggest con job I've ever seen. The first thing I want to say is that Lord's Place, southern side of Lord's Place, is a business centre. Not a tourist centre, it's a business centre. You have various different types of businesses up there, banking, real estate, various stuff. You've got the disabilities unit, things there. We have a policy of ageism in this council. And if I want to talk to Lindsay Totman, who's got on a walking stick, and he lives and revolves his life around the Hotel Canobolas and the Commonwealth Bank and the post office, he's on a walk and he goes very slow. What are we going to do? Make him walk from uptown from a car park, which we got no idea how much it's going to cost, or when is it going to go in, or is it absolutely suitable for what's up there? Nothing whatsoever. But going back to the business houses, just the real estate. 2,500 rentals operate in those real estate places there. Where are they going to park? And are you going to tell the old ladies or whoever you want to talk to that they're going to have a 15-minute car parking and they're going to go up the street and do some of the things they need to do at the post office or the bank? Are you going to tell them? No, you're not even considering them. But it's a business centre. I don't have a problem with beautifying the street. I don't have a problem with that at all. And I think everyone who is even against it and those who are for it are of the same opinion. I want to go back to just look at this, some of the incidents that we're talking about here. Let's look at McNamara Street, how great it was going to be. We've got 2 pop-up cabins there. How long have they been used? How much money has come in from them? How much money have we got? I drove past them today. They look as though they've never been used. Is the key fit in the lock or something? Does it work? I don't know. No one's been there. But again, if you go ahead with this, you are driving our residents and our ratepayers out of the centre of the city, out to North Orange and South Orange. But to say that we are going to build a car park over there without any substance of quantitative surveyor report or any design or whatever the case may be is pie in the sky stuff. Came into pie in the sky stuff when we spoke about the ring road around Orange, and we're still going with it 60 to 70 years later. How many years have we been talking about this over here with the parking, with the multi-storey parking? It's only a pipe dream at the moment. It's only a dream. So, but I just want to go back to the study. The study was made by a group, GHD in Tamworth, and they've got offices here in Orange. But this city is, Tamworth is 7 degrees warmer. We've had probably a bit normal winter. A normal winter, which has been going probably since mid-March right through to about now. It leaves us 5 months to have these pop-up here we're going to put down there. And look at the benefit that one business has copped out from that dining deck down there. You look at the office space there, real estate agents will tell you it's probably worth about $50,000 if you put it in a building area. That's what it's worth. How much do we get for that dining deck? Is it free? Person? And people know that our staff go up there and buy their coffee.
Councillor Duffy, Councillor Duffy, I go there and buy coffee.
I'm glad you...
Thank you.
Got your
I
copy.
think you just want to be.
I'm telling you, just pointing out things to you, because I was one of the ones that raised it, first of all, in this chamber, as regards to people in walking frames and walking sticks walking past there before it was there, and they were being abused because they wanted to get through. Oh, how the height of them to walk along their streets. Come on, this is here, but as I said, go back to business. And you go back to the study. And I want to look at the actual benefits. In the report it speaks about benefits. It only says 3 benefits. Safety. Where's the report on the safety? How many people have been run over or injured? How many car crashes along that area there? Where's the report on the safety? So what's the issue? Where's the issue on safety? I can't recall anyone. As I said, Orange was born, if you wanted to go back to the years, Orange probably in the 1960s was very much similar to Crookville, Main Street, and everything stemmed off the eyes for that. That's what it is, and we can't change it. We're not a Sydney, we're not a Paris, we're not a Wagga, we're not any of those type of things there, but we can change where we future plan, which is up, like you've got the Pellegrinis, they've been booked out for weeks. So they've got outdoor dining deck in their own business, in their space, what they do there. But I also look at the comments. The opposing comments in the report, there's 101 against. And they all give relevant reasons why they're against it. Now, whether we agree with them or whether we don't. But there is supporting comments of 64. It's different, but some of those supporting comments are against the actual parking going away as well. But 1 or 2 of them said, I support it. Who are these people that make these comments? Are they under 15s? Do they come from Orange? Do they come from where? In the report to say where they're from. I want to...
Speak in your mic. I think they can hear you.
I want you to hear.
I'm
now,
hearing.
Traffic will get worse. Now let's talk about the North Lord's Place. Right, we've got there. I'm on the 2-way most of the time, listening to people in business abusing us about the backup of traffic full time. We turn the corner there in a bus and we've got to wait. We're halfway around the light while the traffic's sit there. And there's people in these business houses here that are trying to reverse out there. And we've only got 1 turning lane and 1 straight ahead lane at the roundabout down here. And you're going to have the issue in a few years' time or a year's time where you won't be able to see people walking onto the footpath because of the trees that are there on that footpath. And it has a side effect of what's in McNamara Lane. McNamara Lane is when you're looking to get into traffic onto Byng Street, you finally get a break and around you come and all of a sudden 2 or 3 people jump on the pedestrian crossing, which I don't mind because I think most people do want to get across to the thing there. But the one up here, it is not. It is absolutely annoying and it's useless. It hinders the traffic flow. And this same situation is going to happen in the south. There's only 1 in the design. There's only 1. There's only 1 turning lane or straight ahead lane go out. There's not going to be movement of traffic. Sure, coming into Summer Street there'll be 2 lanes and the traffic will move. I think that's fantastic, but it needs to happen up there as well. Now I did say that, like to review it in 18 months. Let me tell you, it will be an election issue in 18 months' time. It will be a huge election issue in time. Councillor Whitten, that's the thing. What are you going to do to those businesses there? What's going to happen to them when you build it there and people can't come and park there? What's going to happen to them? They're going to lose money. They're going to lose money. And you look at the 3 things and you talk about safety, health and well-being. Well, how in the hell does that come into it? Health and well-being. You've got to park 3 or 4 blocks away, and you're old and decrepit. We've got a policy to support the ageing, and you've got to walk all the way. Really fantastic to make them go all that way. And we don't even know if a car park can go up there yet. And the economic vibrancy. What's wrong with those businesses up there? Go and talk to the guy with the disability spot. And go and talk to the people who would talk about this being a fait accompli that is happening. Because I was told today, this very day today, which I spoke to a number of people up there who were for and were against it, but did have the same concerns about parking, that tenders have already, or costings have already been done to do the job straight away. And that was called in May. It's something I will bring up at ARIC, And it's something that I'll bring up at different spaces. And I can back it up, Mr. CEO. But they also spoke about vandalism. They also spoke about the comments as regards to the out-of-towners or the under-15s who are making comments. I don't know who it is. But you talk about what happens in this council previously. We remember the debate on McDonald's. We wanted access from McDonald's onto the NDR. But we were told no by staff. Chris Devitt said no. He was sitting right there, over that side there. No, it can't happen. Within months, Bunnings get access and egress off the NDR. So who are we believing? Are we being had or we've been had? But I will not support any shape or form of readdressing it 18 months' time because the damage will be done. You either go with it now or you just and cop it. But you also look at the other issues other issues is it the turning into Farrell Road from Tippalo.
Councillor Duff, you've spoken a fair bit.
Well, the same as other people that spoke in this chamber.
You keep going, but just try and summarise it, that's all.
What I'm going to tell you about that is, it went through the traffic committee, the roundabout up there, or the traffic lights up there. It went through our famous traffic committee. It went through there and it was all love and joy. But all of a sudden, I put the director in the bus and say, hey, how am I going to turn left when I've got a car right up there and I can't get around? What do? They moved it back 10 or 15 metres. It is not practical. And I believe what's going to happen here, I'm quite happy to support the beautification of the street and light up the trees. No problem with that whatsoever. But don't do any more until you actually build a car parking spot and find out where you're going to let people go. And I think it's to me, I voted against a number of things that happened here. And remember the golden balls and remember a few other things that are going to happen around here. It's a fact. Anyway, I'm just dead set against it. I know the chamber's willing to back it and go all the way. Good luck to you.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. Any other speakers? Councillor Floyd.
I'll just quickly jump in for a second if I could. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Well, first of all, I'd just like to say that the passion and everything in the chamber tonight's great. I love it. A new council councillor on the council. It's great. I love the passion. But I ventured down there over the weekend and yesterday and spoke to about 14 or 15 businesses in the area. So I'm actually going to speak for the proposal and the amendments. I got probably about 75% success from talking to them about them wanting to try it and go ahead with it. I think as a council we should try and push some of these things through, and I certainly take on board what Councillor Duffy, Councillor Whitten and Councillor Kinghorn have all said, and they've all got their own stories to tell and their thoughts on it, and I certainly take that on board. But I think Orange is a town that can improvise and adapt through this, and I think as councillors we should probably look out for that, think to the future, and as I say, my concerns were parking. I'm really going to look at this development of this Ophir car park in the next couple of years, because I don't want to feel like that I've voted for something on the premise that something else is going to happen and it doesn't. That is really going to annoy me. So I'm really going to be watching out for that. That is one of the main things that made me think to vote yes for this and not no. I was very, very close to doing that, and it was over the parking. So I think, as I said, we need to improvise and adapt, and I think this is something we certainly should go with. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Clarification to the Director of Planning, Mr Mayor. My point of clarification is, if I know that a couple of buildings are thinking of increasing their floor space, are they going to be paid? Are they going to be charged parking increases with the increase of their floor spaces, or change of use? Are they going to be charged that? And how many people have already paid car parking spots and money, and are we going to refund that money if we're going to take 230 car parks away?
Wow.
Through you, Mr Mayor, just thinking about an answer to that question. And forgive me, Councillor, I'm just trying to get to the gist of it. Look, the decision tonight doesn't change the council policy. Council policy is we have parking contribution plans out there already, so tonight doesn't change that. So in relation to giving contributions back, that never happens with any
That's gonna be a
contribution
yes.
plan.
So that's yes, they're going to be charged parking contribution.
No, he's talking about. Can he just finish, Councillor Duffy?
In relation to the
Asking the question.
last part of the question, Councillor, was about would we be refunding contributions paid? And the answer is no. Any contribution once paid is moved on, so you can never get that back. So that's the first part of the question. The second part of the question was about what future development will be, how that will be assessed in terms of parking contributions. And the decision tonight doesn't change the existing council parking strategy or policy in terms of contributions. So the decision whether or not Main Street beautification works carries out doesn't change a contribution plan. Am I clear on that? Have you?
So it's around about $13,000 a car park that's going to be charged.
When there's one contribution required.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Well, I'll just have a quick say if Councillor Evans wants to close the debate. It's been a hard decision to weigh up, and I agree with most of the other councillors of let's give it a go. Let's see if it brings foot traffic into that part of the area, and maybe increase the patronage of businesses in that area. I understand that the Ophir car park it hasn't come back to council yet, but I'm sure if it does come back to council, I don't think there'd be anyone in the room that would vote against us going out for an expression of interest to see what we could do with that Ophir car park. I think with the outdoor dining, you go to Canberra, very much same climate as Orange, and they're packed. They're packed all year round. We were down at Canberra at the NGA conference. There was people dining, and it wasn't the best weather when we were down there. I think pedestrian safety. I think moving that road in and widening the footpath and slowing the cars down to 40 kilometres an hour can only enhance pedestrian safety. So I hope that the tourists and the Orange residents, when we do those the beautification down there, will get out and enjoy what we're doing. And I think as a council, we've got to make decisions on the future, and I think this is a very important council decision for the future. Councillor Evans, did you want to close the debate?
Yeah, I'll keep it short, and I acknowledge all the concerns raised and thank the councillors for their support for this development. But going back again to parking and the dining decks, it seems to be the bunch of roses, or however you want to put it. The whole point of having a report every 6 months and gauging what's going on down there is so that we can see what's going on and make adjustments as concerns arise or the need arises. But that's all I've got to say, and let's get to it.
Okay, well, I'll put the motion. Do we need to read? We're right with the motion? Everyone's right with the motion? All those in favour, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Against? 1, 2, 3. Name recorded.
Well, it should be recorded anyway. I mean, we don't. You act with our resolutions anyway.
Thanks, Councillor Duffy. I'll move into item 6, which is closed meeting. Hang on, I better put my glasses on, I can't. The Chief Executive Officer will advise the Council if any written submissions have been received relating to any item advertised for consideration by a closed meeting of Orange City Council.
There have been no such submissions, Mr Mayor.
In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government General Regulation 2005, in the opinion of the Chief Executive Officer, the following business is of kind as referred in section 10A/2 of the Act and should be dealt with in a confidential session of council meeting closed to the press and public. The 4 items in the closed meeting tonight are classified confidential under the provision of section 10A/2 of the Local Government Act 1993, which permits the meeting to be closed to the public for business relating to C, information that, if disclosed, confer a commercial on a person on whom the council conducting or proposes to conduct business. Those reports are 6.1, construction of tree pits, Lords Place South; 6.2, proposed sale 94 Woodward Street. 6.3, tender Lake Canobolas water and sewer pipeline construction. And 6.4, which is head design consultancy, Orange Sports Precinct. The final item enclosed classified confidential as per section E, information that would be disclosed prejudice the maintenance of law, that the report is 6.5, submission redactions 18th of October 2022.
Move again closed.
Moved by Councillor Whitten, seconded by Councillor Evans. All in favour? Against? Carried.